Good morning or afternoon, depending on where you are. We will get started in 1 minute. I'm just going to give people time to jump in and get their audio set up. So we will get started at the 1 minute mark. Good afternoon or good morning, everyone. We're going to go ahead and get started. For those of you who are just joining us, make sure your audio is working and screen share is working and all of the things. I'm going to kick us off with a little bit of housekeeping, and then I'll turn it over to Bethany to get started. So the main content today will be about 10 to 15 minutes to leave time for Q&A. We are automatically recording this webinar, and it will be emailed out after the event. So for those of you who maybe had people who you work with who couldn't make it, we will be sharing it, and you guys can send it out to them. Any of the content today, the Q&A recap, things like that, will also be included in that post-event email. There is a Q&A box that you can post questions during the webinar, and there's also a chat. So if you have any issues with your audio or things like that, you can feel free to use the chat, and we will answer any questions that you have. So with that, I will turn it over to Bethany.
All right, let me go ahead and get my screen share going. All right, so first off, I just wanted to say thank you again for all of your participation in the UAT testing for phase 1. We've gotten a lot of really great and very helpful feedback from you and your team, so thank you so much for your participation there. We are, also kind of just another housekeeping type of note, we are today in the process of doing a data refresh for the UAT environment. So our team will reach out and notify you as soon as that refresh is complete, but just kind of be aware that if you're in there today, that refresh is kind of ongoing and in process right now. Once that is complete, the data that you see in the UAT environment is now going to have an as of date of August 27th. So again, we'll notify you when that refresh is totally complete and ready to go. And then as you log back in after that, you should see data as of August 27th. So for the kind of demo today, when we first released the UAT testing for your team in this new UI environment, we kind of did that initial demo for what was live and available for testing when we let you in. Since then, we are continuing to release additional updates, enhancements, fix issues that people report, and we are sending out release notes after each sprint. And so today, what we're focusing on in the demo are a few of the things that we have released since that initial UAT rollout. So just to kind of recap and remind you all, you will get release notes. There's a website I think Melissa will show later on in the presentation today where all of those release notes get posted so you can see everything that has been updated in that sprint. Today, we're just going to hit a couple of the highlights of some of the updates or enhancements that we've added. So first, the one that I wanted to call out is that we did put in the account settings page that was not there initially. So you will see that page now when you log into your test user account. This is where your users would do things like set their security questions, update passwords, turn on two-factor authentication, all those sorts of security and account preferences type of settings. So this is now there and available for your testing. Just a couple of things to keep in mind, since this is a UAT environment, two-factor authentication is not working in the UAT environment. So you can change settings here, but you might not actually see that take effect in the UAT environment. And if any of these things require like emails to be sent to you, again, emails do not send from this UAT environment. So just kind of keep those things in mind as you're looking at these pages. Some of that functionality just does not work in UAT around those sort of two-factor and email-based functionality. So that page is there for your team to review now. As you review the release notes, some things will be smaller, some things will be larger. So for example, one of the kind of smaller tweaks we've made is you'll see some styling tweaks here and there. So for instance, we changed this background color of these headings to give you better visual separation as you're reviewing accounts here in your balance sheet widget. So you'll see small tweaks like that, and then other things will be bigger, like full feature enhancements or updates. We've also, one of the other small things I wanted to point out just while we're kind of here on the dashboard is we have improved navigation in places. So for instance, this cash flow widget, we added this link at the bottom. So again, the goal being I have my high level view of my cash flow here on my dashboard, but if I need to dig into additional details, I have easy and intuitive navigation to get to that follow-on page. And so then the other kind of larger one that I wanted to point out today is this cash flow page. So initially you had the grid view where you'd be able to see all of the transactions that happened for the given time period in this cash flow page. We have released these updated interactive graph views as well. And so the way that these are designed to work is to give you that high level view of my income versus spending, so money coming in versus coming out from my cash flow perspective. But then I can also drill down into individual details. So at this both level, I'm going to see my total income compared to my total spending graph over time. And if you drill into one of these segments, you're then going to get the breakdown of all the transactions that occurred within that month for both income and spending. So at that both level, you're getting, like I said, the high level for all of those transactions. You can then pivot this graph into either your income details or your spending details. So in my test user, my income details all come from the same category. But if you have categorization, when you click into these detail views, you're now going to see the breakdown of just my spending broken down by the spending categories that I have in the interface. So I can really see where did that money go from each of these months. And then the drill down here is, let's say, what was I shopping here in March? You're going to get the drill down of whichever segment you click on. So whichever category you click on, this is going to give you the drill down of that category, where then I can see those transactions broken out by the subcategory if you have subcategories for that. So those detailed views give you a much more granular view of, again, income or spending, and then I can click through to get my individual category breakdown. And then if you ever do still want to review my full list of transactions, you do still have the grid view that you can pivot to, that you can then apply whatever filters or grouping that you might want to look at to review your transactions. But so these graph views do exist now for you to go and explore and play around with. And then again, if you have feedback or thoughts on any of the updates and enhancements that we've released, as always, you can send that to the nora@wealthaccess.com email address, and that will get funneled to our product team as we review for later enhancements. So those were the kind of couple quick things that I wanted to demo today. I think, Melissa, you also have some additional details to share with folks.
Yes, and I will pause for any questions. Right now, I am not seeing anything come in. And I know we went through things kind of quickly, but there is a lot there to unpack. So if there aren't any questions, Bethany, I will steal back from you. I do believe that Jeff and team have hopefully shared this out to you guys over the last couple of weeks. But we do have a resource center for our Project Nora. So here you will find everything that we've been sharing and communicating. So we do have as Bethany mentioned, a way to submit the feedback that will email it to our nora@wealthaccess.com. We have the documentation here for the user guide that we sent out, any of the questions that we're getting. We continue to update that there. All of the recordings from any of our webinars will go here. So as soon as this one is done, I will upload that here and you'll be able to watch all of that content. And then the most important thing, as Bethany went through all of the things that have been updated, this is where we are putting our release notes as well. So you will see we are posting release notes every 2 weeks as we end our sprints. So you'll be able to come in here and see, if you've reported an issue, has that been resolved? And you can read these updates as we're pushing them out. So you don't have to wait until our next demo to be able to see what we've done. You can come in here and read through those. So again, we publish those every 2 weeks and they are available. So in the email that I send out, it will have a link to this. I would advise you bookmark it and come back to this on a regular basis. Our client team is communicating out kind of as that reminder every 2 weeks that we have shipped new features and all of the good things. The other thing that I will ask about is as you guys have been going through UAT, if you have feedback on the UAT process itself, whether it's the documentation, just kind of the cadence of communication, things like that, please also submit that feedback to us. We're very interested in learning how we can be better, especially as we look at going into phase 2. So please submit any of that feedback there. And just a mention on kind of the next up demo. Right now we are targeting October 1. So we're trying to get into sort of a monthly cadence of doing a demo. And that will be the first demo where we're starting to show the work in the phase 2. So for the internal user, we will be demoing, right now it's looking like we'll be demoing all of the client wealth pages and the client services, the dashboard, and very likely the document vault. So all of that the internal user experience. Again, I will send that date out. I will post that here and you can go ahead and register for that in the email that I send out. So we will be targeting, as I mentioned, October 1 for that next up demo. I will pause again to check for any questions. And it looks like we may have had one come in. I'm just briefly reading through that. Bethany, this might be a question to field to you, if you've had a chance to read through that.
Yeah, are we talking about this bottom one?
The one,
So the investment accounts?
yes.
Okay, so the question here says, if our clients mainly use the site to see their investment accounts as opposed to banking or credit card accounts, can we change the cash flow chart terminology since income and spending doesn't actually relate or apply to investment transaction activity? So with your data, most likely accounts that are flagged as investment accounts, those transactions should be on your investment activity page. So I know that that page can be customized, the name of it. So your site may say investment activity or trading activity or whatever you have called that page. So the your investment transactions are likely showing up in that page as opposed to on the cash flow page itself. But you do at the firm level have the ability to customize what the names of pages are. So you can change that terminology if there's something that just doesn't make sense to your users or your use case. You can change what that title is.
And that will be in the live production environment, that maintaining the ability to do that, those changes.
Correct.
Yeah, once we roll this out. I know in UAT, you'll see more of the default stuff. So you might not be able to do those types of things in the UAT, but the plan is to do that in production.
Right, and that particular setting is at the firm level. So you will be able to play as far as like a testing scenario. When you start testing phase 3 at that admin firm level, you would be able to go in and say, what would it look like if I change this page to be this name instead of this, and kind of play around with how those are labeled.
Perfect. Thanks, Bethany. All right, with that, I'm not seeing any other questions come in. I will pause, Jeff and Jack, if you guys had anything that you wanted to follow up on with this group while we have them.
So there was one other question about test users. So as we get into phase 2, there's a question is it preferred to have the same set of test users or is there an opportunity to change that up or expand?
I can take that one as well if you want. I would say you could use the same test users, you could add a couple additionals, or it might be that I have a different person entirely. So I would think about it from the standpoint of who on your team is going to have the valuable insight from this kind of internal user workflow day to day. So I know it's a lot to ask, your advisors come and test, so it might not be that you have every one of your advisors come in and test that. Maybe you have a couple or segment out like, hey, can you test this thing and can you test this thing to kind of share the load a little bit. But I would say in general, it does not have to be the same test users. It can be, or if you want to bring in a few others because they've got a different perspective, you would be able to do that.
Great. Thank you. All right. I know we are all excited and eager to get into phase 2. So more communication will come over the coming weeks on kind of timing and things as we are looking at our development timelines. So we appreciate everybody joining us as always. And again, please submit any feedback either on this webinar, the UAT, or what you saw in the demo today. And we will talk to you in October. Thanks, guys.